Good morning, I'm Barry Ahrendt, my pronouns are he, him, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Charlotte. Our mission is this: challenged by our liberating faith, we discover deeper spiritual meaning, nurture loving community, cultivate courageous connections, and partner in the work of justice. The work of justice is very much on my mind this morning as I welcome back to UUCC the Reverend Lisa Garcia-Sampson. She is the Executive Director of the Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry of North Carolina. She was here last August, and we are very happy to have her back. And welcome to all of you on the live stream and in person. For guest visitors and the UU curious, I encourage you to reach out to our Director of Member Relations, Kelly Green. Her email is on the screen. For those here in person, we have large print orders of service, personal hearing assistance devices, and an elevator available. There is also a hearing loop in our alternate worship space in the Bernstein room downstairs. We have coloring pages and fidgets for all ages in the vestibule, if that's useful to you and your children. Now I invite Catherine Covington East to the pulpit to share a message about our Memorial Garden celebration.
Good morning. I'm Catherine Covington East. My pronouns are she, her, and this morning I want to tell you just a bit about the UUCC Memorial Garden. If you're a newer member, you may not be aware of this lovely little niche in our 234 grounds. It was dedicated in 1997 and currently has about 65 memorial stones and plates with the names of additional loved ones. I'm a member of the Congregational Care Team, and over the past year, we received support through a Memorial Endowment Trust grant to enlarge and spruce up the Memorial Garden. We invite you to stop by after the service between 11:15 and 11:45 to celebrate with us. There is a prepared bed for a second row of memorial stones hidden under leaf mulch, native plantings which will add beauty and provide screening from Hardwood Road traffic as they mature, and upgraded irrigation. And I'm very proud to report UUCC members and staff will no longer be called upon to transport and place the stones, as our supplier, Garland, has agreed to take that on. So come take a look. There will be music, snacks, and informational brochures. This has truly been a community-wide project. I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the many people who have helped, including the Congregational Care Team, who have all worked in both seen and unseen ways on this project. The gardeners of the Building and Grounds team, who kept the focus on native plants to support pollinators in the local ecosystem. UUCC musicians who will be performing for us today. The UUCC staff, Margie Storch and Tom Moore, who kindly worked to clean and spruce up the stones and install the new plates. Joe Spencer, one of the team who spearheaded the original creation of the Memorial Garden and who helped locate a local business who could make our replacement plates for the large memorial stone. One of the takeaways I gained from his experience in the 90s was how much effort his committee had to devote to fundraising. So I want to thank the Memorial Endowment Trust for the grant that made this possible and took that fundraising piece off our plate. We are very grateful for their stewardship. So please take a few minutes to stop by, enjoy some music and cookies, get to know the Memorial Garden, and celebrate together. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and to everyone involved in that project. A couple more announcements. Our monthly theme discussion will be today at 11:30 in Bernstein Room. Following the service, we'll be talking about our monthly theme for June, which is joy. And one more big announcement. Our congregational conversation and annual meeting will take place next Sunday, June 8th at 11:30 a.m. following the service. Child care will be provided. The Board of Trustees will report on activities over the past year, and members will vote on the proposed UUCC budget for 2025-26 and a few other matters. The board urges you to attend, either in person or virtually, preferably in person. Virtual participation does require registration. So members may also submit absentee ballots, either as a paper ballot or online. Ballots will be available starting today, and absentee voting closes at 1 p.m. next Sunday, June 7th. So you can check our online newsletter currents or our website this afternoon for all the specifics on that. Again, a warm welcome to all. This is your community, whether you are here for the first or the 1000th time. It brings me joy to celebrate with you here today. We celebrate the power of community as we examine our own roles in it, and as the song says, with love and justice, strive to make us free. We are one people of many beliefs, origins, identities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. It is good to be together.
Thanks for the Kelly Green box, by the way. In these wild and historic and uncertain times, we gather to remember who we are and who we belong to and what we are building together. As we light our chalice this morning, we kindle the spirit of the great turning, the movement for justice and liberation that is alive in our nation today. May we feel it in our bones. And in the stillness of this hour, may we hear it calling our name. Come, let us worship together. And now please rise in body or spirit to greet your neighbor.
morning. I'm Paula Gribble, Director of Lifespan Religious Education. My pronouns are she, her. I often tell the kids, and actually I tell all of you, that each of us has a part to play in the world, and we all can find our specific way that we can be a helper. And this is the story I'm going to share with you today. Welcome to our Community Day. Ready to find your role to play? My name is Rayna. I'm your guide. Follow me and stay by my side. So many grown-ups and kids are here, and everyone wants to volunteer. There's plenty to do in our own town. Help new friends, plant trees on the ground. The time is now. Let's all play a part. Listen and learn what moves your heart. We are the builders. We form and forge, construct and fix, improve homes with nails and bricks. See those old desks, tables, and chairs? Good as new with some repairs. Who wants to join the builders? We are the caregivers. We comfort, console, soothe, and cheer. Care kits for all, near and dear. Acts of service and words that mend. How can I help, my new friend? Who wants to join the caregivers? We are the frontline responders. We plan and protect, stay prepared. Storms brewing, but don't be scared. Stock cans of soup, bags of fresh fruits, gather warm coats, gloves, and boots. Who wants to join the frontline responders? We are the disruptors. We declare, demand, and demonstrate. Call for change, don't hesitate. Raise our voices, banners, and beats. Meet and march out in the streets. Who wants to join the disruptors? We are the experimenters. We scan, invent, and improvise, solve hard problems with fresh eyes. What if these used bottles and rags could become backpacks and bags? Who wants to join the experimenters? We are the visionaries. We dream, imagine, and inspire a world we can all admire. Fresh air, clean water, safe and free, bright futures, that's what we see. Who wants to join the visionaries? We are the weavers. We stitch, we braid, we intertwine, common threads link hearts and minds. When people fight or disagree, find what connects you and me. Who wants to join the weavers? We are the healers. We renew, restore, and relieve, tend to those who cry and grieve. Sometimes when the world is too much, we nurture with breath and touch. Who wants to join the healers? We are the storytellers. We sing, we dance, we create art, bring joy and love heart to heart. Vibrant murals preserve our past. History is cherished at last. Who wants to join me with the storytellers? Of the different roles to play, which one feels like you today? You could become a guide like me, show new folks what they can be. We mentor, we advise, we steer, share wisdom, honest and clear. Now that it's clear what we can do, we want to hear from all of you. What role would you choose? Who would you be? Yes. How will you change this community? Thank you for this story of all of us having a role to play and a voice in the fight and struggle, and the joy, too. At this time, we're going to have the kids go to class, but today it's a little bit different. Today, we are appreciating our children and youth RE teachers in a brunch in Sigismund. And the kids are all gonna gather in Freeman Hall, and 7 and under are going to the nursery. 6 and under are going to the nursery. 7 and up are going to the playground, so that you'll know where to get your kids after. So let's go.
Well, good morning again. It is such a joy to be with you this morning and to have been here yesterday to celebrate Reverend Amanda's installation. Oh my Lord. John, I half expected to see you sleep under your piano this morning, but I don't know how any of y'all are here. I hope that you know that what y'all did yesterday to honor your minister and your shared ministry was absolutely breathtaking. It is one of the most joyful and moving installations that I have ever been a part of. I was out with many of my colleagues last night, and we all shared in that sentiment, and I just want you to know that we saw that you all brought it yesterday. From the choir, to the potluck, to the hospitality, to George Washington III. Oh my Lord, you brought it. Thank you for blessing us with yesterday. You should be so proud. So again, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Lisa Garcia-Sampson, and I proudly lead your Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry here in North Carolina, serving our 28 UU congregations across the state, ranging from the mountains all the way to the coast, folks in our big cities like yours, all the way to our small, rural, conservative counties. Some of our churches have 12 people, 18 people, some have hundreds. Our mission at UU Justice NC is to joyfully organize UUs to co-create a transformative movement for justice through spiritual grounding, collaboration, and imagination. And we do so by working in close relationship with UU congregations like yours, of course, with our national UU partners like Side with Love and UUSC, and of course with our beloved statewide partners. Beloveds, we gather here today during incredibly scary and uncertain times. Over this spring, we have, in the first months of this new administration, we have continued to witness the dismantling of the power and purpose of essential government agencies like USAID, and the EPA, and FEMA, and the Department of Education. The government continues to take away the livelihoods of tens of thousands of hardworking civil servants across the country. Although we can celebrate that yesterday, one particular individual is no longer in that line of work. We have seen the reckless destabilization of global markets, the casual floating of ideas to annex Canada, to run for a third term. And the bill just passed in the US House of Representatives, which could result in massive cuts to essential services like SNAP benefits and Medicaid to pay for tax cuts for the wealthiest in our nation. And this one cannot be overstated, the continued disappearing and detainment of legal residents of this nation, not for any illegal actions, but for exercising their constitutional rights to free speech. Let's tell the truth about what is happening. This is textbook fascist, autocratic behavior when the President of the United States uses the power of the government to punish his enemies and those who he deems to be a threat, whether it be students, universities, the media, politicians, law firms, judges, and the list goes on. These are very scary times. And of course, that playbook, the playbook of white Christian nationalism, of fascism, and defunding social services, the threat to our democracy and on the checks and balances of our government, it's all happening here at a state level too. In these times, it is so easy to fall into despair, to give into fear, to feel that we are powerless spectators watching history unfold on our televisions. Just remember that that is how they want us to feel. They want to rob us of our hope and our courage through displays of overwhelming force. They want to rob us of our imaginations because they know, as do we, as Lucille Clifton once said, that you cannot create what you cannot imagine. And they want most of us, most of all, for us to doubt our power. They want us to doubt our power. This moment is a test of our faith in ourselves and in our collective power. So how do we live into our faith in this moment? How do we honor what happened here yesterday? In the prophetic, joyful vision of the world that is possible. In the power of love, how do we honor that in our work? Well, first, I was glad to see we had a lot of disruptors in the house today. We need to be a part of the largest nonviolent resistance movement in the history of our country. We need to protest. We got some folks ready to go. We need to boycott. We need to resist. And we also know that the story of our movement is not what we are fighting against. It is what we are fighting for. We need to commit ourselves fully to the movement in our state that is creating the North Carolina that we deserve. We need to believe, to really, truly believe that it is possible, and then we need to will it into existence. And if you doubt our power, then let me remind you, as Reverend Amy said yesterday, that we are the home of the lunch counter sit-ins and the birthplace of the environmental justice movement and the Moral Mondays. We are the people who passed Medicaid expansion when nobody said it was possible. That's right. And in this moment, we are the movement that is building massive networks of safety and care to fight natural disasters and attacks on our democracy and extremist groups all at the same time. What I'm saying is, do not forget who we are and the legacy that we have inherited and what we are building together. And do not doubt the powerful role that Unitarian Universalists can play in this moment either, because we are finding our power too. UUs from the mountains to the coast, from our small congregations in deep red towns to our big churches in our big cities, we are finding our power. We are finding our people. And just one recent example of that power is our 2024 UU the Vote campaign. We got some UU the Vote shirts in the front row here. That's right. Last year, UU the Vote was the largest activation of UUs in the history of our state, with over 1,100 of us across 21 congregations in our state getting involved. That is nearly 1 in 5 UUs in the state. Together, we reached out to over 100,000 voters in North Carolina and did so in deep partnership with our friends in the movement, calling over 60,000 North Carolinians throughout the fall with Pro-Choice NC and Carolina Juice for Justice and National UU the Vote, knocked on thousands of doors, including right here in Charlotte, with the North Carolina Asian Americans Together, writing tens of thousands of postcards, and that's not to mention work as You Can Vote volunteers and Democracy NC poll protectors and rides to the polls and ballot curing, and the list goes on. And your congregation played a huge role in that effort. Can we give some love to Rita Singer and Ken Smalley and everybody who helped with that work? And the thing that, on top of all that, perhaps I am most proud of is that UU Justice NC last year helped to co-create and co-lead our movement's first ever rapid response safety network, recruiting over 140 de-escalators across the state, a third of whom were Unitarian Universalists, who quickly responded to reports of threats and violence at the polls by groups like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and the Moms for Liberty. They wear pearls, but they're just as dangerous. Now we are exploring ways to make this new technology a permanent element of our state's community safety efforts. There are 2 things I want to say about UU the Vote. The first one is this. Just a few moments ago, I celebrated that 1 in 5 UUs in this state participated. That is an absolutely massive achievement. And you can do the math. That means 4 out of 5 didn't. And sure, plenty of folks were doing partisan work. Some others we may have missed in the count. I'll give you that. And still, it is safe to say that the majority of UUs in our state did not participate in last year's election beyond voting. And we could dwell on that. I think we should a little. But more importantly, we should recognize that as an opportunity. We should recognize that as evidence that we have just barely glimpsed the power of our faith. Second, I want to highlight that our partners in the work that we did last year, these are not merely election year partners, these are 365 days a year, every year partners. We need partnerships now more than ever before, because the only way through this, the only way forward, is together. At a state level, which is UU Justice NC's lane, we are proud to belong to a massive movement ecosystem that is Blueprint North Carolina. It is a network of over 120 organizations moving in formation with shared values and shared strategies. And I'm talking about your small frontline organizations across this state, all the way up to your big guys like the ACLU and Common Cause and Democracy NC. We are all working under the same umbrella. We are in lockstep. I say this to remind us that despite the challenges we face, we have never been more prepared for this moment. We are organized, we are rooted in shared values, and we are growing. because so many in this moment are yearning for that deep sense of power and purpose and connection, and we have got it. This is how we win. By claiming our power, by claiming our place in the movement and believing that the sum of our actions can change everything. Today's story for all ages was a wonderful book called We Are the Builders by Deepa Iyer. In this story, the guide asks the children to choose how they would help with Community Day. And what you may or may not know is that Deepa Iyer is not just a wonderful children's author, she is also a renowned justice advocate and organizer. She will actually be one of our featured speakers at General Assembly later on this month. And her social change ecosystem map has inspired and informed our movement for nearly a decade, laying out the different roles that we need to create change. And these roles are just as in the book today: builders, healers, artists, storytellers, bridge builders, frontline responders, caregivers, weavers, disruptors, visionaries. And in the story, a question was asked that reverberates far beyond the pages of that book. She says this: "The time is now. What role will you play?" Lately, I've been thinking a lot about all the many roles required in our movement, and I decided to make a list of just some of the things that our partner organizations have asked us for in the past couple of years. Our movement partners have needed sign makers, musicians, pickup trucks, a building open from 9 to 5 that can receive deliveries, a generator, a choir, legal observers in Carteret County, someone who can drive supplies from Winston-Salem to Charlotte that afternoon, a worship space in Rocky Mount, mutual aid donors, volunteers who will write letters to the editor, speak at school board meetings, show up at the General Assembly, pack the courthouse, and people who can drive around in a circle and beat their horn during a car caravan. I'm not done. Clergy who can escort Waffle House employees back to work after a strike. Home hospitality for those coming from out of state to seek an abortion. Housing for trans youth. ICE Watch volunteers, abortion clinic escorts, street medics, drag story hour safety team members, people who could drive farm workers to their annual union meeting, people with good penmanship, a kitchen and a dining hall that can feed 100 people that night, childcare volunteers, a large meeting space with live streaming capabilities, this will do, candy bag assemblers, and door-to-door canvassers. These are just a few. This is what we need. And beloveds, the good news is that if we get organized, we have the people to do this. I invite you for a moment to think about your abundant congregation that was on full display yesterday. Your physical infrastructure, your skills, your capacity, your George Washington III's, your resources. Think about it. Then combine that with the resources of all of the other UU congregations in the state. Then combine that with all of the values-aligned churches and synagogues, mosques, temples, and gurdwaras across North Carolina. That, my friends, is exactly what we are building in 2025. This year, UU Justice NC is excited to help lead the creation of Blueprint North Carolina's first ever statewide faith table. Since last year, we have been working in partnership with Carolina Jews for Justice, Muslim Women for, the Quakers, the Council of Churches. We've got everybody at the table to organize our network of resources, skills, and capacities in a way that we never have before. And we officially launched that table just a few weeks ago, and we had over 80 faith, lay leaders, and clergy from across the state in attendance, spanning over 6 faith traditions. Y'all, we are not playing. Building an asset map of faith communities stretching from all across this state in service to our movement in areas of advocacy and infrastructure, safety, and care. Can you imagine what is possible? Let me ask you this, in the list of things I just read a moment ago, the list of things that our partner organizations need, who heard something in that list that you are either already doing or have the skills to do or simply the willingness to do? Who heard something in that list? We have to build that bridge between our partners on the front lines and the people who can fill those gaps, and that's what we are doing. And of course, we cannot be rigid in our understanding of how we are meant to contribute, because as in the words of Reverend Elizabeth Wynn, we must be willing to, quote, live our lives in the shape of what is being asked. I think about your neighboring congregation in Wilmington, North Carolina, which, if you don't know, is essentially the home of the headquarters of the Proud Boys in our state. The Proud Boys who wreak havoc lining the walls of every New Hanover County School Board meeting, who disrupt pride events, DEI, God forbid, DEI events, wreaking true havoc in that community. Over the last 3 years, it has become clear that safety and security has become one of the greatest needs in New Hanover and in Wilmington, and we now are proud to say that we have over 40 members of your UU Wilmington congregation who are trained in de-escalation and serving in a 24/7 rapid response network. And let me tell you this, the majority of people in that crew are in their 60s and 70s, and never would have imagined that this would be the role that they would play. But they answered the call because it's what their community needed them to do. We are called to stretch and change and grow and be transformed by this work. We are called to get tangled up in this movement. And with faith and trust, let ourselves become who we are meant to become. Rest assured, in the weeks and months to come, you will hear more about the Blueprint North Carolina Faith Table. And we will begin to roll out opportunities to get plugged into statewide teams to serve in all of these roles that we have named. Get ready. But in the meantime, let's talk just briefly about what is needed right now. As I mentioned earlier last week, a massive bill was passed in the House of Representatives which could result in massive cuts to essential services like SNAP benefits and Medicaid. Right now, we need to get on the phones to Senators Tillis and Budd and tell them that it is cruel and immoral beyond words to take food away from hungry kids to pay for tax cuts for the most wealthy in our nation. We need to tell them that we did not fight for 10 years to expand health care to over 650,000 people in our state to lose it now. And beyond that expansion, we need to remind them that 1 in 4 people in North Carolina are on Medicaid, including children, people in nursing homes, and those living with disabilities and chronic illness. And this funding is also essential to all of our healthcare systems, especially our rural hospitals. So here is the ask, because if I'm an organizer without an ask, I'm not doing it right. From June 9th to June 18th, UU Justice NC will be a part of a statewide phone call blitz into Senator Tillis and Bud's office, calling on them to reject this bill. And if you're not familiar with our movement's phone call blitz actions, it's when their office receives a phone call every 3 minutes in an unbroken chain for weeks on end. Like I said, we're not playing. So if your congregation is interested, I know Rita is down to help lead in this work. What we need is 20 volunteers from your congregation to call, both of them with a very easy script at a very specific time in your church's time block. And you will be a part of what will be the largest phone call blitz in the history of our movement. So I invite you to grab Rita after the service if you want to be a part of that. And if there are more than 20, let's go. Finally, I invite you to consider joining us this and every Friday at 11 a.m. on Zoom for UU Justice NC's Friday Action Hour. Each week, UUs and friends across the state gather together to reflect on the week's news, to hear directly from one of our partner organizations, and then take action. We truly do this every week. This week, we will be celebrating our 263rd straight week of gathering. In the coming weeks, we will continue to be fighting for migrant farm worker rights. We'll be talking about safety concerns at our upcoming LGBTQ Pride events this summer, and we'll be fighting to free the wrongly convicted James Richardson out of Greenville. Beloveds, in this moment, we are called to interrogate the limits of our imagination for what is possible. We need to have faith in us. And as I said before, not just to fight against this onslaught, but to be centered in our values and in our imagination and our power. And as Stacey Abrams described, to not be in a defensive crouch, but in the active work of creation. We must be guided and sustained by the vision of a North Carolina where all are included and all thrived. May we hold that vision. May we claim our power to build a new way. May we hear the movement calling our name. Beloveds, the time is now. What role will you play? Amen.
Generosity is at the center of our mission and vision. And it is through generosity that we live our values out loud. What we give allows us to sustain the work of this congregation within and beyond these walls. When we gather each week, let it remind us of the spirit of generosity and gratitude, recognizing the blessing that it is to carry the work forward together. There are many ways to give to our shared offering. You can text to give at 73256, or you can give directly online. You can also scan the QR code on the screen, right there, or give as the basket comes your way. Thank you for making this possible, with added thanks to our pledging members for their ongoing and generous financial support. While the offering is collected, you are invited to come forward and light a candle, honoring a milestone, concern, or celebration. Ushers, you may now come forward. Please join me in a time of contemplation. I invite you to breathe deeply. Be present to the spirit of life which is in us and through us and around us. To those human connections that give us strength when we struggle and celebrate when we are joyful. The gathered community hears and holds both difficulty and ease as we honor the experiences that make each of us who we are. If you are in need of pastoral care, you can reach out to our wonderful congregational care team or to Reverend Amanda. The information is on our UUCC website. Our collective concerns this week include many threats to the well-being of our neighbors who came here from many lands in search of safety and a better life. Around the world, millions of innocents suffer daily under the threat of starvation, disease, war, or conquest. Closer to home and on a brighter note, we hold dear and congratulate all the newest graduates of our high schools and colleges. And we celebrate with Reverend Amanda, who was installed yesterday as our 5th settled minister in 75 years, a day that I will never forget. And please now join me in a moment of silence as we honor all the concerns shared today and those that remain in our hearts.
Spirit of life and love. Spirit of justice and grief and early summer mornings. We give thanks for the hands and hearts and voices that blessed us yesterday and today. May that love and joy and power and wisdom continue to bless us in the days to come. May the celebrations that we experience nourish us and remind us of who we are and of all that is possible when we put love at the center. And in our grief, in our fear, in our doubt, may we know that this messy and sacred web of community accompanies us. It grieves with us and holds us and heals with us. May in the moments when we feel most alone, most lost, most hopeless, may our spirits reach out to touch the loving energy that is always there. The divine abundance, the sacred energy that moves within us and among us always. May we continue to cultivate the ability to see love and joy around every corner, to witness every blessing, every surprise, every reminder. And may we be that blessing to one another, knowing that the love we so deeply need is the abundant love that we always, always have at our fingertips to give to one another. Amen. Doubt that another world is possible. Let's go prove them wrong, shall we? Our service has ended and our service to this world begins again. May we know the abundance and the power and the truth that lives in each of us, and may we share it with generosity in this world. Please join us in our closing hymn, number 1028, The Fire of Commitment.
Please join me in reading the chalice extinguishing words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of freedom. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be seated for our closing music.